Won his best bet last night, ESPN Bet. Shout out. Evan Cohen with you. Now, you bet rebounds for Ant-Man. He got 10 of them. That's the beauty of ESPN Bet. You have a gut feeling about something. Doesn't have to be the biggest story in the sport. It can literally be the over on Ant-Man rebounds, and you cash it. Good morning, everybody.
Well, I was big for Ant-Man to do that, though. No DiVincenzo, no Nas Reed. They needed him to be on the glass, especially going up against the Nuggets.
And they won 140-139, double overtime. Jokic had a 61-point triple-double in a loss. Woo. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, it's the most points in NBA history with the triple-double. The only other two players to have 60-point triple-doubles, Luka Doncic and James Harden.
Wow.
James Harden did it in regulation game, too, by the way. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
Yeah, but Doncic, Doncic is pretty good, top 3, but Jokic is number 1. Jokic is the best player on the planet. I don't care who wins MVP. I don't care who wins it, Smalls.
Are you putting him in that category where he should likely win it every year, but he won't?
Yeah, because he's won it in the past and because there is a little bit of recency bias working against him, there are a lot of people that have fatigue when it comes to the greatness of Jokic. But last night is an example of why you should never sleep on that dude and why you can never discount the Denver Nuggets. Even in a loss, that dude was downright dominant. Just incredible in terms of him being able to assert his will, get to his spots on the court, being able to set up other guys for opportunities. He's incredible. I mean, I'm just looking at some of his numbers. He's averaging a 29-point triple-double on the season. Jokic is top 3 in points, rebounds, assists, and steals per game.
Wow. Ridiculous.
Top 3 in all 4 of those categories, and he ain't 3 in all of those categories.
And he probably won't win MVP.
Insane.
Right?
Insane.
So is Jokic the Lamar of the NBA? Where we look at Lamar, 2-time MVP, he had numbers that you could arguably say he was better this season than he was the 2 times he won MVP, but it felt like Josh Allen's turn.
You can't say that because Jokic has actually won a chip, but
yes.
The fact that the Denver Nuggets catch all kinds of hell when they match up against the Timberwolves, that's the part that needs to be highlighted. Because when you look at the standings now and see the Wolves knocking on the door for a top 6 spot in the playoffs, you start thinking about yourselves, you could see a Nuggets-Timberwolves first-round matchup. And that is the matchup that nobody in Denver wants because Minnesota has beaten Denver 6 straight times. At this point, it's not a rivalry. In a rivalry, each team wins games, they go back and forth. This hasn't been a back and forth. Going back to last year when they knocked them out in the second round of the playoffs. Minnesota is a problem for the Denver Nuggets.
Yes, they are. No doubt.
There's a couple other things with that game last night. I don't want to do this. I feel badly doing it. Russell Westbrook had a disastrous end to that game. They're up 1. He has a steal, misses a wide-open layup, and then it fouls Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 3 to ultimately lose the game. I hate doing this. I don't want to rag on Russell Westbrook. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He plays his butt off every night. It was horrible. Horrible. But, if you think about the West right now, the odds, courtesy of ESPN Bet and Unsportsmanlike, is brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Download the app today. 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. OKC is minus 150. The Lakers are plus 600. The Nuggets are plus 700. The Warriors, who won last night, and Steph Curry had 52 points in that game, including 12 three-pointers, are plus 900. And the Clippers and Wolves are plus 1,800. There are some good bets in here. I shouldn't say good bets. In my opinion, if I am making a bet by way of ESPN Bet, there are some bets in here that are intriguing if you don't think it's a done deal that Oklahoma City is going to the finals.
Okay, which one pops out to you?
Well, for me, the Nuggets are plus 700 and the Warriors are plus 900, but also both at plus 1,800. The Clippers and the Wolves, both of them. Because when you're thinking about making a run to the NBA Finals, more times than not, the NBA playoffs come down to one big question. Do you have the best player on the floor? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown were the best players on the floor last year, all playoff long. Mm-hmm. Jokic, CeCe mentioned a couple years ago, best player on the floor. Giannis, they were down in the series to Phoenix a few years ago. They beat Phoenix last night, by the way, Milwaukee did. Best player on the floor. MJ, Kobe, Shaq, the obvious LeBron, the obvious ones. I mean, Ant-Man could be the best player on the floor any given night.
Yeah.
If Kawhi, I understand if Kawhi is healthy. If Kawhi is healthy, could be the best player on the floor any single night.
We've seen that. That's not an outrageous thing to say.
So all of those teams below Oklahoma City, the Lakers, Nuggets, Warriors, Clippers, Wolves, all could have the best player on the floor. Think about that.
But then to do that, though, you're saying that you think Shea won't be the best player on the floor.
No, I'm saying that's not as good of a bet because they're minus 150. If you're just looking at it from a handicapping perspective.
Got you.
And you're saying, like, in the Eastern Conference, the equivalent of plus 1,800 probably doesn't have the best player on the floor. If you think about it. You couldn't even project. Could you project Tyrese Halliburton being better than Tatum or Brown?
No.
Yeah, neither could I. And I love Tyrese Halliburton.
Me too, but I can't
couldn't do that. Could you project in a single series Anthony Edwards being better than Shea?
Yes.
Could you project Kawhi being better than Shea? Traded for each other. Well, Paul George, but in essence, same trade, like, okay, but if you could think about it, you could bet $1 on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my mind goes. And maybe the Wolves are the team that everybody should avoid in the West, but I don't know who you want in the West. That's the problem.
Well, you want Houston because of their inexperience, but they're
we love the coach.
But they're well coached.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if you look at what could potentially happen with the 5, 6, 7 teams, which all have 44 wins, it could be a scenario where Memphis drops down to that 7 line, and then you got a Houston-Memphis first-round matchup.
Ooh, I'd love that.
Which would be wild. But I just think it's fascinating when you look at the Western Conference standings. And as a Lakers fan, I'm trying to think about the different machinations which put my Lakers in the best possible scenario to go on a deep run. Because right now, I got to say, I don't love being in the 4th spot. Because you're talking about having a first-round matchup with the Golden State Warriors. And if you beat them, then your prize waiting for you is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Fun.
Yeah, I as much as I love LeBron and Doncic, and as much as I think that those two guys on any given night are capable of being the best duo on the court, I don't know that they can win a total of 8 games across 2 series in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I don't think that's a knock on them. I think that's just like the reality of it.
I think if it was a situation where you'd have one or the other, I could see that scenario playing out.
For sure.
But the Golden State Warriors in the first round, if you match them against them, they're going to take their pound of flesh. That's going to be a tough out.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to OKC, but if I'm a Lakers fan, I think that the Warriors scare me more.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that.
First round.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. But I guess what I'm saying is the combination of the two.
Oh, of course.
Right? If you've got a 4-5 matchup, LA versus Golden State, the Lakers advance, you got OKC. They're probably going to wrap up their series against the 8 seed in short order. They're waiting for you. They're rested. They're younger. They're deeper. They have more frontline size. They just have more.
Yeah.
So even though you might have the best duo on the court, how much gas does LeBron James have left in the tank at this point? Where are we at with Luka Doncic? Can he not be as big a liability defensively? I think those are all of the tough questions that the Lakers, JJ Redick and company have to be asking themselves if the playoffs end up being what we see on the standings today. So, again, I think it's going to be fascinating to see who comes out of the West. It's all matchup based. These teams are going to cannibalize each other, but at the end, everybody is looking up at OKC right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just laid out, I totally agree with. In essence, the Lakers have to win the NBA Finals twice before they get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
In the 4-5 matchup, they have to beat Steph Curry and Shea in back-to-back rounds before they get to the Western Conference Finals. That's winning the finals twice. Those are finals type matchups against those teams. And that's not even factoring in what Jimmy Butler could be in the postseason. That's not factoring in the Oklahoma City depth. That's just those 2 superstar players. And off of last night, I was thinking about something. Allow this to be an appreciation moment, for me at least, with Steph and Jokic. We spent so much time, rightfully so, talking about LeBron James. He's the 2nd greatest player of all time. What he's done off the court is phenomenal. Nobody's arguing that, right? In terms of building a school, charity, he doesn't get in trouble. He can be a role model for people. There's also the other side of, like, why are you going after Brian Windhorst? Why are you going after Stephen A? Like, what are we talking about with this stuff? Steph and Jokic go out every night and do their job, and they're unbelievable. And we probably don't spend enough time, even though we've talked about Steph a ton, just appreciating those 2 guys. Steph Curry is an all-time great athlete in someone else's era that ultimately, retroactively, could become his era. Based on how much he wins, how many titles he wins, same organization, we've all said it. You'd rather have Steph Curry's career than LeBron James, even though LeBron James will go down as the better player. But what Steph is continuing...
That's crazy to think about it that way, though. I'm just... Because you're right, LeBron is the 2nd greatest player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if you were asked the question where they put a statue of him, I guess you would say the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he left them twice. Even
With that title he brought there.
Even though
He's going to be celebrated in all. He'll be celebrated in Miami too now.
He'll be celebrated in all.
You're right.
He'll be
There's
celebrated.
No statue, though.
He'll be celebrated in all places. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But where's his home?
Where's his basketball?
Where's his
home?
basketball home?
And didn't you say every athlete wants that
Every
home?
athlete wants a home. Now, I guess for LeBron, his basketball home will be the arena that his team plays in when they expand the league in a few years.
He's an owner.
And he's going to own it.
He puts a statue
He
for
puts a
himself.
statue of himself. But, when you start thinking about Steph Curry, his basketball home is the Chase Center. That is the house that Steph Curry quite literally built.
Undeniable.
Undeniably,
Yep.
right? One of the greatest modern-day dynasties that we've seen across all sports. I mean, the 4 rings is what it is. If he were to find a way, and I know this is a long shot, to be able to add on to that ring count and add on to his legacy, I think Evan makes a legitimate argument that Steph Curry has had the better of the two when it comes to overall career, and there's an argument to be made in terms of style of play that Steph Curry had more influence over the NBA over the last 2 decades than LeBron.
Yeah, but you just made a really interesting point that I never thought about. When we asked the question, where's your home, I wonder if there was a moment retroactively where LeBron realized, I'm going to buy my own home. I don't have to worry about if they're going to put a statue up for me in Cleveland, Miami, or the Lakers. Because I'm going to be in Vegas or Seattle or whatever it is, that he buys his own home. I never thought about it that way.
And that's why you'll never be Jordan.
That's interesting. I mean,
I didn't mean to take it there, but I'm
going to complain about that?
It's the low-hanging fruit.
It is, even to this day.